And we should be live with a fresh camera angle for you guys. We've got 3 HomePods that were sent in for repair today. And we've got quite a lot going on the past few days, and quite a lot more going on the next few days. And so we're just going to try to crank through these as fast as we can. And I might have to also, just everybody has a heads up, I might have to go into like a standby, or I might have to just step away from the stream in a few hours here if we can't get all 3 of these fixed in one go. But I'll come back and we'll wrap up anything that we may not have gotten to yet. So, enough rambling. We've got our first pod here. It comes from Tony. And well, that's short. Their first name is a little shortened, but they requested that we open this up on stream for them, so we're gonna go ahead and do that. And if I remember correctly, this one has a bit of an interesting problem here. Pretty non-standard problem here. You guys will get to see what I'm talking about in a sec. Yes. So, when they bought this HomePod, it came with this bracket, and they were unable to get this taken apart to remove the power cable. So I told them, hey, no problem, go ahead and send it in. We'll get this taken off for you. So let me grab my Leatherman here, and let's see if we can't just pull this off. I see a screw right there that's been almost drilled out. That's probably the cover for this, so. We almost got it. Almost there. Oh. There we go. Haha. So we'll go ahead and try to pull that screw out if we can't here. Maybe they'll be able to reuse this mount if they can find a new screw. No, that is threaded in there. Well, primary objective complete. In any case, we got that mount taken off and the power cable freed up, so we'll set that mount to the side. Get this cable out of the way. And the main issue here, they're describing that this HomePod has a pretty loud pop. So let's go ahead and see if we see the same thing. Oh, that's funny. That's hilarious. You got me there. So they had their HomePod here labeled as bad pop, and they went ahead and did us a favor, and for reference, they went and included us some good pop. So once we get this bad pop fixed, we'll go ahead and compare it to the good pop here, the known good pop, and we'll see if there's any improvement. That's good. And hey, I will always take food. All right. Let's get all this set to the side. And let's connect this to some power and see if we got any weird behavior right off the bat. Alright, so it's booting up, that's good. Alright, so now that it's booted up, we need to, wake up the amplifier so that way it starts, actually working here. Or not. Let's find out.
I'm having trouble connecting.
Yep. So I heard a pretty healthy pop there. I don't know if you caught that before Stereo started complaining, but I could actually feel it as I was holding. I could feel the pop. So that's pretty gnarly. And then let's listen again as we unplug it from power now that the amplifier's awake. Yeah. All right. So let's get this cracked apart and just check, really see. We're curious how much DC offset this thing actually has, and then we'll go on ahead and correct that issue. Oh, and let's get our other camera here up. Beautiful. And let's begin. Oh yeah, no, that I'm not surprised that you couldn't do that yourself. That was not it must have looked a lot easier on camera, but it was not it didn't just come off like butter. Yeah, that mount is interesting. Not sure exactly how it actually works. As far as like how it actually mounts your HomePod to a wall. I've got somebody stopping by at 2:30 in about 2 hours, so I'm not quite sure if we'll be able to get through all three in one go here, but I'll attend to those other matters at 2:30, and then we will be back to wrap up any unfinished business. Base. What's the story on the Mini here? So I bought like a lot of like 4 broken HomePod Minis. They were all described as doesn't power on. And 3 of the 4 Minis I was able to just simply plug into my Mac, hit restore, and they've been functioning perfectly fine since I got them a few months ago. The 4th one here was the only one out of those 4 that refused to allow me to restore it from the Mac. It actually doesn't even show up. And it is as far as I can tell, there's probably some physical hardware failure going on with the logic board. But I've just left it plugged in ever since I got it, and it's just boot looping. And maybe one day it'll kick itself out of a boot loop and it'll work again. But this is actually the speaker out of this guy. I actually took some of the parts out of it just because I wanted to play around with them. And this is the speaker that's inside of your HomePod Mini. It's only got one. It's got a couple of passive radiators too, but meh. Alright, let's pry this basket off. Oh, and if you couldn't tell, I drew a sad face on him. So that's why that Mini is sad. But they don't have a name yet. And I was actually thinking about that. I was gonna ask during my next stream, like, what would be a good name for that guy? We could call him like Sir Bootsaloop, or I don't know. I'm not that creative with names. Let's give it the old pry. Oh, that came off real easy. Nice. Set that to the side here. And get this subwoofer out. Mr. Brick. That's not bad. I like that. Check and see how good this subwoofer still is here. Smells fine, feels fine, and the voice coil in there looks nice and copper. So that's good. Let's get these rings out. Alright, and then we can go ahead and plug our subwoofer into this guy real fast. And a power cable. I'm going to unplug the internal AC connector there and replace it with one that we can plug a power cable into. There we go. Let's get some power connected to that. Oh, and we'll grab a logic board here too, of course, so it can actually boot up here. Alright, let's take a peek at that DC offset here. So that's booting up. Let's pull up our multimeter here, get that turned on. And we'll want to connect our multimeter to our subwoofer. Get that put into DC millivolts mode. And then let's wake up the amplifier, same as before, and see how much DC offset we've got. So, oh boy. We've got 0.27 volts and quickly climbing. So, all right. That is what we are aiming to resolve. Hopefully, after our repairs here, if we did it correctly, then there should be no more than 50 millivolts of DC. And currently we're seeing about 300 millivolts and steadily increasing. So I'm sure within a few minutes time that would grow to a couple of volts and then trigger crackling and other bass issues, and perhaps even some death farts. Oh, and actually, this subwoofer that I use for all the testing here, the microphone sits right above it. So anything that you hear, any sounds that the subwoofer will produce, you should hear very clearly as far as those pops. How do I know how to do all of this? You might need to be more specific on what exactly. Because as far as just taking the HomePods apart and putting them back together again, that I followed other guides online, and lots of practice, and you start to get more proficient at doing these sort of things. Like with most things, it's just practice. As far as figuring out the actual repairs for these, not just taking them apart, but actually fixing the problems. So there's two main common problems. There's the no power issue and the DC offset, which the DC offset will cause popping and crackling and death farts. So the no power issue was fairly well known at the time I started getting into the HomePod game. People generally knew what the no power issue was and how to repair that. It comes from that diode on the amplifier shorting out. The DC offset issue, however, that is what got me into the HomePod game, because at the time it was thought to be the fault of one component on the amplifier board, and I ended up finding suitable replacements for that component, and after I replaced it, it still didn't change anything, it didn't fix anything. So I sought to find out exactly what is causing these problems for DC offset. And it turns out I was doing a lot of just Googling on DC offset in audio amplifiers, trying to understand potential sources for where this could be coming from. And I read on somebody's blog that DC offset will grow, it'll get worse with heat. So I was like, I wonder if I connected my multimeter to the subwoofer, watched the DC offset measurement on the multimeter, and then take my heat gun with a small nozzle and start going around the board until I see a certain specific part of the board that I heat up cause the DC offset on my meter to jump up drastically. And that's when I found on the back side of the board here, if we look next to the amplifier IC. So this was the original suspect for DC offset. People thought the amplifier was going out. But I found that when you heat these capacitors up, that's what makes the DC offset grow the quickest. And then if you replace these capacitors, then that offset will be almost entirely gone, and you'll no longer have death farts and loud popping and bass crackling issues. One other thing that I generally noticed while just repairing these over time are a few other components that seem to get obviously damaged. It doesn't happen every time, but in this case, we can see next to the subwoofer connector here, there's a 10 ohm resistor that's very well cooked. It should not look like that. They should look like this. Nice and black on the top, maybe with some white lettering. But this one's pretty well cooked, as you can see there. Not sure if you can see that. Not sure if you can see that. I'm just messing with you. Anyways, so we're going to go ahead and replace this resistor here, and then we're going to flip the board around and replace the 4 capacitors back here. These capacitors are supposed to filter out the DC offset that's just inherent with audio amplifiers. All audio amplifiers are going to have DC offset. Ideally, you design your circuit to have some sort of filtering for that, and that's what these 4 caps here are for. So we're going to replace those, and that big burned out resistor there. And then, last but not least, we've got a diode here with a date code of 1748K on it. And those love to fail. So we're going to replace this as well. Because we don't want to fix the audio issues on this amplifier, and 2 months down the road they've suddenly got no power. So quite a lot to pull off the board here, but let's go ahead and get started. We're going to grab our heat, and we're going to start by pulling all the parts that need to come off. And after we get all the old parts off, then we'll go around and put new parts on. Start with this diode here. It's not often I see a diode here with that date code that still works. All right. Old diode removed. We're going to put some metal shielding around this plastic connector here before we pull this resistor off, so that we don't melt that guy there. Create more work for ourselves. There we go. Easy peasy. Take that off and flip this board around. And let's get those 4 capacitors taken off. All right. So let's clean up our station here, make sure we're not mixing up old parts with new. And we're gonna grab some flux here and just touch up all the pads on this board. We got the full suite of replacement parts here today. Diode, resistor, and capacitors. This amplifier is going to be practically brand new by the time we're done with it. But that's the goal. Alright, so we're going to grab our soldering iron. And for some of these components here, we're going to go ahead and put some fresh solder on there. Okay. Let's start with our capacitors on the back here. Get some new ones on. Next capacitor. Very good. Time for number 3. And number 4. Ooh, very hot. Let's see. There we go. Now let's flip this around. And let's get our power diode replaced. And last but not least, that resistor next to the subwoofer connector. All right. Just touch that up with our iron real fast. Make sure it's got plenty of solder in there. All right. Fresh set of components. Let's go ahead and throw this together real fast. We're going to take our time here so it gives it a chance to cool down, of course. We don't want heat messing with our testing too much here. I've just got a fan on my desk next to me here that I'm using to cool this off. Make sure everything is at least touchable, if not just slightly warm to the touch. Alright. Let's throw this together real fast and see if we've got everything all taken care of. Let's get ourselves a logic cable. And that good logic board back in here. Connect our subwoofer. Our power. Make sure our meter's on. And let's give it some juice. Alright. Alright, so it's booting up now. That's good, we didn't break anything. And what are the results?
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet. For more info,
let's turn that back down. So we've got a very, very chill result of about 5 millivolts DC. That is a spectacular result, and it seems to be holding relatively steady. So this one appears to be all ready to go. Still, even after you do these repairs, something that you should know if you didn't catch it on the website, a teeny tiny little bit of popping, it's pretty much inevitable. As I said, DC offset is inherent with any audio amplifier. The HomePod is no exception. So how well you can filter that offset out, that's what matters. And if we can keep that below a certain threshold without it also intensely growing, then we can keep our HomePod performing well until something else tends to break, until something else breaks. But that is a spectacular result. It's exactly what I wanted to see, so it's keeping it relatively easy for us so far. So let's get the amp dropped back in. Yeah, your popping was really bad. Not the worst that I've seen. It only had lol 200 to 300 millivolts. I'm sure if we let it sit for a while, it would probably get worse. But no reason to subject it to the torture if we know what we need to do. My general rule of thumb is if your popping is pretty quiet and it's unnoticeable almost, and you don't feel it when it pops while you're like touching it, you're probably fine. It's when the popping you can really feel it in the subwoofer. That's when that's a sign of things starting to go awry and needing some repairs. Alright, amplifier is fully secured. Let's get that logic cable put in so we don't forget. And let's drop the power supply in. Alright. Time for the doof woofer. In you go. Make sure we get that gasket for the woofer lined up. And drop that down. How is the top resecured since you had to... Yeah, yep, that's just held on via screws. The glue is kind of a redundancy kind of thing, I think. Helps keep things from rattling, but if you don't peel all that glue off and you kind of leave it there, it helps keep things from rattling when you put it back together too. Sometimes I end up needing to take all the glue off, and other people have done the same thing, and it still doesn't seem to cause any problems just being held on by screws. So who knows? Apple knows, but they won't tell us. Yeah, the way that they get the mesh into the body of the pod here without making it like the seamless look that they and the way that they accomplished it is really interesting. Pretty similar to how they do it in the Mini 2 as far as it's got drawstrings that you tighten up and screw down. Just like basically shrunk down. All right, what have we got? We got a fully working HomePod? Or did something magically break between us last testing it and putting it together? Drum roll, please. All right, so that's good. It's powering on again. Always good to see we didn't regress. And let's see.
I'm having trouble connecting to
Wow.
the internet.
I
For
heard
more info, check the home app.
absolutely zero popping that time. Incredible. Let's try to get the
I'm
volume
having
buttons up. Don't try to talk over me. Those look nice and evenly illuminated, and the bass sounds good in there. So this one's all fixed up and ready to go. Let's unplug that from power, set it to the side, and we'll break out our second HomePod that's shown up here for the repair. Alright, so number 2. Well, goodbye. Nice knowing you. Number 2 comes from Dominic. Yes, of course, it's my pleasure. Absolutely love bringing this kind of stuff back to life. Or anything for that matter, but I thoroughly enjoy doing this. All right. Let's see if we can't find a good way of opening this. Well, apparently that side is glued shut. Let's try this half. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Oh, and they followed. Wow. Good on ya for that. You put little, you overlapped the tape a little bit so it's easy to just pull it right off. Good on ya. and I would turn the favor when I send it back. That's actually genius. I'll have to do that for everyone else moving forward. You want to tape the box shut, of course, because it can come apart in transit, and the power cable, if you include it, will like to unravel. And goodness, this thing is in beautiful condition. Wow. Anyways, the power cable can unravel and leave imprints in the mesh as the HomePod unshuffles around in the box. So this guy did an A+ excellent job packing this. I absolutely love seeing it. Alright, so this one supposedly has no power. So we're gonna verify that real fast. And indeed, no signs of life, and about 4 to 6 watts of power being pulled from the wall. So, as I always say, typical signs of a shorted diode on the amplifier. Let's crack it open and find out. I actually want to get some of this goo off my tool here before we goo their pod up. All right. Flawless. Ah, balls. Yes. This one wants to completely destroy its adhesive. That's not a problem. Looks like it's all still there. That's good. All right. Oh man, that gave up real easy. Check out these cool moves. Yeah, the sound that you hear is just that that adhesive unsticking from the basket here. It makes some pretty gnarly sounds, but rest assured, it's totally normal. Kind of like cracking open an Xbox 360, if you recall. It's normal to hear those sounds. But the adhesive they use to hold that basket down is pretty high strength stuff, so it's going to produce some sounds as you break it loose. And you can tell if you're not sure if you cracked something or not, you can grab your basket here and just bend it all around a little bit gently. You don't want to break it if it's perfectly fine, but if you go around and bend it like this, you can see if any cracks show up. But this one's all good, so woofer smells good, so that's all right. May as well check if their woofer looks good or if it's on its way to being roasted while you're in here, you know? Alright. 9 minutes it took us to break this HomePod down. Not bad. I think I could do better. So let's just check really quick. Just like what I mentioned on the last repair that we just finished, this diode here tends to be the source of our no power issues. And if we take a closer look, I'll bet you it's got the same date code. Close, 1746K. So 1746 and 1748K tends to fail pretty often. Either that or they're just the two date codes that were used most in HomePods. But that said, I haven't seen any other date codes failing. It's just 1746 and 1748K. So it could be a bad batch, or it could be, let's see here. Could just simply be that there were more of these diodes with this date code being in use, so you're going to see more of them, of course, fail over time. In any case, let's get this pulled off. and replaced, and then we'll see if our board powers up. Old diode be gone. Whoa! I'm tossing you guys around today. Alright. Let's grab a new one. Put some flux on that. Flux on our board while we're at it. Then we will apply some fresh solder to that diode and pop it onto the board. All right. A little more flux for those top pins there. And we're ready to go to town. Baba Booey! Alright. Let's boot this board up and see if there's any other problems. Of course, we want to see if our no power repair worked, but 99 times out of 100, I should say, actually. That is almost always the single cause here. Not sure if you caught our stream from our last repair stream. I don't think we did one yesterday. We got pretty busy, but 2 days ago during our last live stream repair, we were trying to fix that HomePod with no power, and we saw a shorted diode, so we replaced that, and then after we tried to power it on, it blew up the step-down converter, so we replaced that, and it still wouldn't power on. So there was another teeny tiny little diode to the left of the step-down converter that also blew out. So that was an interesting, very eventful set of repairs there, but hopefully these ones today will be pretty easy. And I've never seen that before. At least not on any of mine, I think. Might have had one other. All the repairs are starting to blend together. Oh, we didn't connect a logic board. Silly us. That's what we get for talking and working. Alright, now we're ready. Woohoo! It's booting up. So we got our no power repair here fixed up, or our no power issue fixed up. Let's get our multimeter turned on so we can check for DC offset while we got this.
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet. For more info, check the home app.
All right. So I heard bass. I heard an old Android tablet notifying me. But we've got bass, and our DC offset here is a spectacular roughly 1 millivolt, and it doesn't seem to be changing too much. So this HomePod is all ready to go back home. Well, first let's throw it all the way back together, and then we can, then we'll send it home. I'm not sure how happy they'd be with just the amplifier board, even if we got it working. Lol. Get that power supply out of here. Some days it's nothing more than a shorted diode. Other days it's half the damn board. At least today, so far, it's one of those just the diode days. You know, not that I don't enjoy rebuilding half the amplifier, but I'm not always in the mood for it. I'm sure you understand. No! Hey there, welcome to the chat and the live stream. Thanks for dropping on by. I've got about 35 unread emails as of right now that I still need to go through. So I do apologize for the for any delays in responding there. It's been getting pretty freaky busy. You know, word gets out. And of course, it doesn't help that I like to share my content around the various social media platforms to try to get it out there more. And so that means more people hitting me up for repairs, more time spent writing emails and less time actually doing the repairs. Pretty soon I'm going to have to hire like a secretary or something. But I like the way I do things right now. It keeps the repair prices reasonably affordable and very competitive option compared to just throwing yours in the trash and buying another one from Apple. That's really what I want to avoid here. But anyways, I am drowning in emails at the moment, so I will try to respond, and I do respond to all of them. It will just take me some time. All right, what do we got? We got power. I think I actually remember seeing your email come in. Your subject was something about death farts from Denmark, if I remember correctly. All right.
I'm having trouble connecting
We
to
got
the internet.
sound.
For more info,
I can hear the
check
bass.
the home app.
Let's check the volume
I'm
buttons.
having
Right on. They're nice and evenly illuminated. So pod number 2, all fixed up. Let's set that to the side. And we will break out the third and final HomePod for repair here. Let's try not to drop you guys again. So, Dominic's is now done, and we are now moving on to Gary's. Here we go. This one, I believe, comes to us, if I'm not mistaken, from Canada. Oh, here. I'll give you guys the satisfactory box opening experience here. Oh. Love her. Let's take that power cable off. Just makes our job a little easier. All right, let's plug this into power and see what we've got. Nothing. And 6 watts at the wall, as I usually say, typical signs of a shorted diode. So let's crack this third and final HomePod open here. See if we can't get it fixed up. A wild Dominic appeared in the chat. Hey, did you know your first name is spelled the exact same way my first name is? How often do you get people giving you an extra K at the end there? I quite like my NIC without a K. Dominic's without a K. Rise up. Oh, that one went flying. Alright, all those are taken out? Yep. Let's pry this logic cable off before we pry this basket off. Don't want to forget that. And now we can commence the pry. Nice satisfying pop out of 2. 3 is binding. Nice click out of 3. Nice click out of 4. Nice click out of 5. And we're gonna go back to the start. 1 is set. Nice click out of 2. 2 is set. 3 is set. 4 is set. 5 and 6. I think we got this open. Nice. Took half the glue with it, but that's not a problem. Woofer's good, smells great. Bad woofers will never pass my smell test. Alright, what do we got going on here? What do we got going on here? 1748K. Don't even need to bother testing that. We know it's going to be bad. Let's pull it off. Bad diode be gone. Wait for that to harden. Just like that. And because we like big balls, we're going to leave that there. We're going to leave that nice big solder ball there because why not? We're not in the business of making it look pretty, we're in the business of making it work functional. Functional and well. Alright. Let's check this for power, see if our no power repair worked, and for any DC offset. Alright, no power repair worked. It's turning on. And no significant offset to be seen. Excellent. Looks to be stabilizing at around 5 to 8 millivolts. Perfectly acceptable. and absolutely no popping that I can hear when it gets disconnected from power, so this one seems to be all good to go. Let's go on ahead and put it all the way back together in their pod, and we'll be all done for the day. We've got the management company showing up at our house at 2:30 in about 14 minutes. Let's see if we can't get this put back together before they show up here. I just thought of something funny. It takes less time for me to repair a HomePod than it does to respond to an email. Oh boy. Oh, I will need to step away for a few minutes. Give me 10 or 15 minutes. I apologize. They showed up early. I'll be right back. All right. We are back to wrap up this repair. We are not getting evicted. It's always good. Oh, one more. Yeah, there we go. Alright, the final piece for the final HomePod for today. Fingers crossed. Alright. Let's power this puppy up and see what we've got. Can I get a drum roll, please? Voila.
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet. I'm having trouble
Got it all fixed up. No problems. Right on. 3 for 3 HomePods repaired today. No surprises. Right on. Well, I hope y'all enjoyed this live stream repair. Got some other stuff to take care of today, but stay tuned for more HomePods to show up for repair. They'll never stop breaking here. So, all right. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Goodbye.